Morning, everybody. 8:25 a.m. March 31st. Welcome to my channel. Now, this is the end of the month, so sometimes there's some trickery towards the end of the trading day, end of a quarter as well. So, that even more powerful end of a quarter. So, this market, I wouldn't be shocked into the close if this thing got ripped up into the close because, fund managers, portfolios, whatever, have to show some good numbers at the end of a quarter. That might be a little trickery towards the end of the day. I've seen that before, where like 3:30 or something, all of a sudden the market starts ripping. Okay. Now, yesterday, Powell talked. Market kind of moved sideways for a while. Then the market kind of sold off, got a little pop at the end of the day. But the market is currently up. So, Trump posted on Truth Social that he might just abandon the Strait of Hormuz as it is because the U.S. really doesn't get their oil from there. Other countries depend on that oil. And he's basically saying, since some of the, I guess, NATO wasn't willing to help, he's like, all right, this is not really, U.S. doesn't have to help everybody every time. And he's basically saying everybody can get their own oil or they can buy it from the U.S. And kind of saying they might retreat. Again, take it with a grain of salt, but that's what he said. So, because the U.S., I think I saw only imports like 1 or 2% oil from there. It's not a lot. Europe and other countries depend on it a lot more. So, who knows? Hegseth and the U.S. colonel or general speaking, and they're saying about a deal could happen, but if it doesn't, will escalate. So Trump's saying abandon, and then the colonel was just saying they're bombing their ships, and well, who knows. Crude is still, it's actually down a little bit right now, down to 102. It's down a 0.5%, but it's moving all over the place like usual. And the market's trying to bust out of this consolidation right here from the overnight. So we trying to break out of this, and I don't know. This market, I wouldn't call it tricky, but it's just you need to get out of here and see the poor structure up here. If you get out of this area, this could really lift up. So I don't know what's going to happen. Okay. So this is our markets. Now today we do have Chicago PMI at 9:45 and Jolts Jobs at 10 a.m. Okay. All right. Without further ado, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. Use market profile, bond profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. When the market opens, use market internals, a little ICT. All right. A little anchor VWAPs. Weekly expected move indicator you can get for free on my Discord. Okay. That's what I do. All right. Now, hopefully, you join me every morning. Subscribe to that alert. I give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I give you the long and short trade scenarios later in the stream. All right, now, if you want to join my Discord and get more in-depth coverage, intraday stuff, commentary, you're going to join my Discord, Fluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay, now, yesterday, my first short scenario worked out in the ES. Was very close. I was live yesterday. I was very close to saying, hey, this could be opportunity to short here. Gave me one more opportunity, and I just went away. So I didn't have a trade yesterday, even though I almost shorted, and obviously would have worked. But that's trading. Okay. Now, we're going to move right over. Market's trying to catch a bid here in the NASDAQ. Let's see. We'll see. Anything could change. All right. Very quickly. So let's look at futures. All right, so silver is leading the pack today, up 3.77%. Russell up 1.5%. Ethereum up 1.43. Gold up 1.18. Everything's moving around on me here. Dow is up 1.13. Nasdaq up 1.13. ES up 1.11. Bitcoin's up a half percent. 30-year bonds being bought. Shenzhen yield's a little lower. Crude is flat. Dollar is down 0.29. 10-year yield is down 0.62. The VIX is down 7.38% with the liftoff. Okay, down to a 28.37 VIX. All right, let's move on. Max 7 Plus. All right, you can see everybody's in this list is pretty much up. Meta's up 1.61. Amazon up over 1.5%. Amazon up 1.5%. AMD close to 1.5%. Microsoft close to 1.5%. Google up 1.36%. Tesla's up 1.33%. Broadcom up 1.26%. JP Morgan up 1.25%. All right, I don't have to go over the whole list. Netflix is flat. Top sectors. All right, the mining NEM stock up 2.36%. Uber's up 1.22%. Oracle up 1.19%. Palantir up over 1%. No laggards. Sectors. Semis have been getting hit really hard lately. Okay, they're up 1.5%. Technology up 1.22%. Discretionary up 1.14%. Financials up 1.10%. All right, those are the heavyweights. All right, those are the heavyweights. Okay. Even Staples is up. So it's everything's up right now. Like I said, if we break out of this consolidation, we're going to have to break around the 6,500 area. Get into that unfilled gap. Who knows if that happens? Like I said, it's end of quarter. So there's some, like I said, there's some could be some trickery. Could be some trickery here today. Okay. All right, let's move on to news. Economic calendar. Alrighty. 9 a.m. You got S&P Case-Shiller home price. 9:45 Chicago PMI. 10 a.m. Jolts job openings and consumer confidence. Fed Goolsbee speaks at 12. 3 p.m. Fed bar. API crude at 4:30. Okay. Let's go to Trump. So Trump today, let's see here. He participates in a policy meeting. Closed press at 3 p.m. Okay. I don't see anything that. Let's see the juice here. A bunch of Fed speak today. See Hegseth speaking, and this U.S. Colonel or General who's speaking. General Kane was speaking. Let's see the last couple of things they talked about. Pentagon chief Hegseth talks are ongoing and gaining strength. There is no Iran. See, this is U.S. There is no Iran deal. We'll negotiate with bombs. Jesus. Other countries should pay attention when Trump speaks. U.S. Secretary of War on straight. Trump has led U.S. laid conditions for success. So who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Okay. Moving on to some news. I'm only gonna see here. Big tech, 635 billion AI spending faces energy shock test. Private lenders delay reckoning with payment concessions on stressed debt. What else here? Fed Williams says monetary policy well positioned for unusual circumstances. Okay. Let's see some of the other markets. In global markets, European shares gained, but concerns over the Iran war economic impact kept the benchmark on track for its sharpest monthly decline since 2022. Meanwhile, Japan's Nikkei share average fell for the fourth straight day, marking its worst month since 2008. Global financial crisis. Similarly, Chinese stocks also ended lower and saw their worst monthly loss since early 22. Let's see here. All right. I think we're done here. Let's do a little breath check-in after yesterday. We'll do a little credit spreads as well. Let's just go to a year. Ooh, got a sharp rise in credit spreads yesterday. So be on the lookout. So let's go back to like a max view here. Remember I said credit spreads tell you, look at that. They rise in recessions. Okay, they rise up. Every gray region is a recession. .com crash, financial crisis, COVID. Okay, so we rose up yesterday. I don't know if it's yesterday in particular, but so be on the mind of that. Once we go over, I would say like the 4.5 area, 5. I would say a cause for concern. Definitely. That's really when risk is, that's really when credit spreads, that's really when we're in trouble. Okay. So moving on, bullish percent index. I don't know why that chart's like that, but we'll refresh it. And let's go to breadth here. I always forget here. I think it's 50. SR 50. Here we go. 20-day. Percentage of stocks over the 20-day, 17% only. So we're pretty oversold here. Let's go to the 50. 21% on the 50. So that's some of our breadth. Let's go to the bullish percent index. Ooh, 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 ooh. It dropped yesterday. So overall breadth got worse yesterday. 32% of stocks only on buy signals. Let's see the NASDAQ. Because the NASDAQ, member was holding some strength and recently has had taken a downturn. 30%. So now the NASDAQ's a little worse. 30% only on buy signals, right? You get real frothy when you get lower than 30%. That's pretty substantial. All right, now we want to dive into the tech, which would be, I'm just forgetting info. That's what it is. Woof, woof, woof. I took a downturn yesterday, boy. 22% on buy signals. Look down here. So we're getting pretty oversold in technology. Okay. Yesterday was a bloodbath, technology. All right. Now, financials. Let's see what those are at. All right. Took a downturn yesterday as well. So we're really trying to break out of this consolidation right now. So we'll see. So right now, what I'm seeing is we're pretty frothy, right? Down to the downside. We have end of quarter today. Okay, end of quarter. Okay, I think that we're done for the breath. Always like to look at those because there's pockets in the market that's had a crash, particularly software stocks. I added, I'm not a financial advisor, okay, but I added some positions yesterday into my portfolios. ServiceNow, a little bit of Netflix, Microsoft, Hood. I finally started a position in Hood. And they're all Microsoft I had, so I added to it. Now is a new position. Netflix is new. I really regret not hitting them at 75, but the software, see, there's been a crash in software because of Anthropic Claude. Okay. The ServiceNow, that's a good one. I like the chart. Really was relatively strong yesterday, even though tech was weak. Okay. There's some other ones that were on my map, were like Salesforce and Palo Alto, that also had good days yesterday. Okay. So we're going to look at now those market internals. They were pretty weak yesterday. Let's look at those. So yesterday, now I was live and I was telling one of my community members, a good friend of mine, I was like, hey, listen, when the Valdez are at 1-to-1s, you tend to not have an all-out, like, ridiculous sell-off. Now, we did kind of push lower because tech was so weak. You could see the internals were weak, but the overall market was not that weak. Hence, financials was up. Communications was not weak. Okay? Industrials was pretty weak yesterday. Okay? But we bounced, and now we're up today. Right? So, end the quarter. I'm gonna keep saying it. So, this was pretty weak, led by technology. Now, like, Microsoft was positive on the day. I think Apple was negative. So, interesting day, right? Because there's certain sectors like when I added to now was ripping yesterday. So, you got to find pockets, right? Pockets in the market. Like I said, our market's only down like 10%, but like software stocks are down like 35%, some of them, right? Microsoft has 6 months down in a row. So those are ones that they're just, that you gotta do something. Okay? And this war's not gonna last forever. All right? Now, let's go and move on to daily charts now. And we hit finally the level I was talking about. That 2025 anchored VWAP. Okay? So we zoom out. There's that VWAP. It's that yellow line all the way from, let's highlight it here, all the way from last year. That's the anchored VWAP from last year. So this is tracking the average buyer, and we're hitting it. Look, we swept it. That's why I have it on my chart. Okay? I've noticed last year when I did the 2024 anchored VWAP, a lot of stocks bounced off those numbers. So we swept it and closed right above it. And now look, we're up to 639 right now. We closed at 631. Okay? So I'm telling you, these levels matter. Okay? So we're all the way up here. 639, dude. We're at the highs. I'm telling you right now. Look at this. Now they're not red, they're black, but look at, there's a lot of boom, 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 right? You're going to get a rip-roaring rally day. Even if we eventually roll over, you're going to get one. It's just how it works. Okay, it's just how it works. Look, we took out and closed below last week's, but now we're all the way back up here. There's going to be a day where you rip out and shorts go, ugh, and you shorts start covering. Okay? So we'll have to see. Let's look at futures. Oh, let me show you one other thing, and I'm not the biggest thing, but I have to show it to you. The RSI here, like I said, I don't just trade on RSI, but when you're under like the RSI, right, is like oversold, is basically telling you. And you go back in history, and most times you recover the next week when you hit it. So here we were at it. Look what happened. We hit it. Market recovered. It doesn't hit it a lot. Let's look back in time again one more. See, it really doesn't hit it. Like right here, it hit it for a second. Look at that. Whoop. Everybody looks at that. So I just want to look at stuff that everybody looks at. Everybody knows that. Okay? So I just wanted to show you that. All right, let's look at futures real quick. So look at that. Look at that. Almost like an inverse hammer yesterday, and the market's almost at the highs. Trying to break out. Now, can it fail? Of course it can. Of course it can. It's a very volatile market. VIX is at a 28, okay? Things can change at a dime. But you swept yesterday. See that? Swept yesterday. I would think we hit this high today. At least. Or prior weekly level. Now, that's just going off the momentum right now. Okay? Yesterday was very telling. We'll get into it in the hourly chart. To me, it was very telling of how the market reacted. It showed its hand a little bit. Qs. Qs, what did we hit? Anchor VWAP, right? We closed below it on Friday. We closed way below it, right? Down here. Now, if we look across here, there's a monthly low. All right, we kind of violated that. Closed almost below that monthly low of what? September. Okay, that's last year's September lows. Okay, that was last week's lows right here. Okay, now there's your anchor VWAP. Guess where the market is now? 565. Right here. We're back above the anchored VWAP from 2025. Okay? End the quarter. I'm going to say it again. All right, so futures. Futures. Okay. Swept yesterday's sessions lows. Back inside last week. Now, off the bat, what I'm looking at here is, like I said, I think we have the potential to at least go up to this session higher on 2, 3, 5, 7, 7s. End the quarter. Now, like I said, anything can happen, but that's right now what it looks like. Look, shorts went down in the hole, shorts went lower, and now market's pushing up. Okay? That's what we got going here. All right? Let's look at that XLK real quick. Let's just check in with the sector that moves our markets. That's not it. Okay, here we go. Okay, that violated its anchored view up. What else did it come down to? XLK came down to a monthly low where last August's low. And, oh, okay, that's a pretty big level. That look at the XLK. So that's a August low, then another September monthly low. Look at that support here. Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. And now we're at 129. We're back above it. So that is a definite, look at that support there. Big time support of 128. That's what we hit yesterday. Maybe the market was waiting for that. Maybe the market was waiting for that because that's pretty bearish. Okay, let's look at XOY. That's your Tesla, your Home Depot, your Amazon. This thing is getting destroyed, right? Came down to, let's take a monthly low right here. There's big support here at 103. There's also support right here, and it violated. And let's see if it's over it. Once it's right at this support. Okay. Let's go financials. Financials with the private credit issues. Let's just take a quick look at that. Big fall, right? Here's a monthly low from the past. And where are we now? 48.99. We're right back into this consolidation. So, very interesting. Let's look at one more, communications. That's your Meta, your Google, and Netflix. There's your 2025 anchored VWAP. And that came into this consolidation. So, like I said, this market technically is probably ready for a bounce. Who knows? Okay? I don't know. All right, now we're going to move on to the 1 hour charts here. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Okay? When you watch markets long enough, they have personality, and you can just tell from price action, like, okay, what are we doing here? Right? Like, what are we doing here? 1 hour charts here. Okay? Let me get my marker out. Because this is, to me, is a little telling. Okay. So, yesterday, poor structure on the way up. And he took it out. Market's efficient. I talk about it every day in my community. Market's efficient. That way up was just taken back. Okay? But I said this little area is going to be hard to cut through. Well, what did it do? It swept it right there. Okay? But notice, right? As soon as that happened, whoop, right back up. And now what are you doing? Consolidating again. Most traded price of the week of the yesterday was right here. You're above that. That's a mini win. Okay? It's a mini win. Now that most traded price of the 24 hours has changed to here too. That's a mini win. Okay? And trying to break out of this, to break out of this. Okay? Now remember, if it does break it, it has to break into this 6,500 area. Okay? And if it can hold, let's say it even does this, you can fill the gap and then take care of this poor structure up here, and you can take a free ride up to 65.50s. Now, we know there's a lot of crap going on in the Middle East. So we also know this could be turning into a balance area where we go up here, the market pushes down here again, goes back up here, goes back. And another thing that's interesting, I'm not sure if everybody saw it, but there's somebody from Iran's parliament or something that wrote about what Trump's doing or that America's doing. Hey, he said, if America pumps it, sell it. He basically said Trump's pumping your markets up. So anytime he does that, just short it. And then anytime something else happens, you go long. I'm just like, whoa, that's crazy. That's crazy that was said. But it was said. So, like I said, the market's due for some type of bounce. Okay? And this structure really shows the cards here. Right there. That's a free that could be today. Let's say if we manage to get something like this in this. Oof, and you're in here and you're like the market's kind of like, let's say, I don't know, ranging about, and you're like, ooh. And then that ended like from 3 p.m. and the end of quarter. Oh boy, that could just go get bought right up there. We'll see. I don't know. Okay. Can this low be taken out? Sure. But we went up, came down, and supported, and now we're consolidating up here. Can it come back down here? Sure. Okay. Let's look at the Nasdaq. Remember, Nasdaq's now relatively weaker. Okay. So let's look at it here. Now, I had a major demand from the past here, and look what we did. We came right into here, still stayed in that demand, bounced up, and you're battling the most traded price of the rolling week, which happens to be 23335. It happens to be yesterday's most traded price right here. So that's a mini win for bulls. Okay. Market's starting to push up a little bit. Let's see. Okay. Now, you just want to see this break, and you have to get over this. You have to break the 236s to get a free ride up to this poor structure. So, you know, what I could see is here, maybe do this, pull back, and if you get this, you're probably going to rip up to the 240s. But who knows? Okay. Who really knows? Look at this last 4 hours, pretty bullish. Look at this daily candle, pretty bullish. And just keep your eye on crude. Right now, crude is up slightly. Okay, but this is looking like it wants to break out. But it's going into a supply, heavy supply here. Okay, so that's why I'm saying it's not a free ride. Okay, it's just that I think this market is a little oversold. And I don't go by that because I'm just going to go long but I'm saying eventually the markets need to have a rally. Is today it? I don't know. End of quarter. Okay. Now, let's get into market profile, volume profile, and that will be it for today. We'll come up with our, long and shorts there. Okay. So you can see what you're going to see here. This is your market profile, volume profile, by the way. What I love looking at this. Boy, do I love it. Okay. So let me break this out here. This is what I love, right? Maybe in real-time trading hours, you only see 2 days in the same area, but like when you look at it this way, you can see the overnight session, the real-time trading hours. Overnight session, we're starting a balance area, okay? And what else is happening is the most traded price of the week is probably going to move here today. I'm probably going to bring, I'm just going to bring it down because it's most likely going to shift. So I'm going to bring this down. So just so that it makes more sense. All right. That's 64.25. Okay. So that is the level you want to hold today. Okay. Let's get right into scenarios for your ES futures, long and short. Let's do it. All right. Now, so since we're in heavy supply, okay, that makes me very less apt to just go, because I'm saying we could break out. Well, that's not how I trade. Okay. So for a long, what I'd like to see is something like yesterday's highs was 64.71s. I would like a sweep of that in this heavy supply. Okay, and then how the market's been working is every pop's been getting sold. So if we come back, pull back to, you got it, the most traded price of the week, 64.25. That is the line in the sand. It's the most traded price of yesterday and of the rolling week. Okay, you got a week to date anchor view up here too, right below it. So what I would like to see is a sweep of that, or a pullback perfectly to it, and then a retest of the 64.25s. You target, where you're going to target is you're probably going to target the overnight. Well, let me see here. In this scenario, no, I would target right around here, this area. What is that going to be? Around your 64.83s. Okay. Now, there is a gap. It's unfilled right here. Let's get those levels for you. So this gap, the bottom of this gap is 64.95s. Okay. The end of the gap, 65.17s. Okay. Target the bottom of the gap and then try to ride the gap fill. Try to ride that gap fill. Okay. Just trying to see if there's anything else here. Yeah, I would say that's a good trade right there. Okay. Now, there is a sneaky long. I'm starting using that lately. A little bit of a sneaky one would be the market comes back, pushes real hard into this demand. And this demand starts around 64.02s. Okay. And there's a bullish fair value gap right here. I want this to be quick. I don't want it to hang out. Okay. And if you can get some lift off here with a higher low, that will also be what I just pointed to as last week's lows, 63.98s. Okay, so say 6400 to be even, and then see if you can ride up. Now that has to be quick. I do not want time spent there. That has to be a quick pullback and recovery. It's all I'm really interested in. I do not want to just go crazy long inside supply where most people are probably going to short it. Okay? Now, shorts. For the short, it's just what I said in the beginning of the long. All right? For a short, two things can happen. Now, number one, I'd like the sweep of yesterday's highs. Okay? I'd like that. Right? Push up, end of the supply, and there's more supply up there, and maybe even fail to fill that gap, pull back into this balance area range, put in a lower high, you target, guess what? 64.25 is the most traded price of the week. Now, if you lose to 64.25, which has been big support overnight, you're probably going back down. Okay, now this demand zone is a big one. I don't think it will be super easy, but since we're in a balance, gravity might just take over and bring us right back to the overnight lows, which happen to be, what is that, 63.53. Okay. So that's the short. Now, if you're conservative, you're like, I don't know. You're going to have to wait for the 64.25s to break. And then you see the market retest 64.25s, then short it. Okay. That's the ES. Let's go to the NASDAQ here. Okay. So, let's start our scenarios. Alrighty. I'm going to start with the long in the NASDAQ. Now, your level to watch in the NASDAQ is your 233 5 zeros. Okay? That is yesterday's most traded price and the most traded price of the week. Okay? So I like the ES setup, to be honest, right now. Okay? I like it a little better, but we can still work with it. Okay? So the ES is a little higher up in its range. Okay? And it's a little more perfect balance area than NASDAQ. The NASDAQ doesn't have the nice balanced area like the ES does. Okay? But still there. Still there. Okay? Now see, the market's pulling back a little bit. So coming back to this level. Okay? The level to watch is your 23350 right here. And your other one is 23238. That's the support from the overnights. Okay? Also happens to be last week's lows, 23269. Okay. So in this long scenario, what do I want to see? Now, since this is in the middle of the range, it still could be supportive. It's just not as good of a setup as the ES, but what would I look for? A pullback to 23350, hold it, retest, then you're going to target yesterday's highs, 23538. Okay? Gravy on top is the bottom of this gap, 23664s, and then fill the gap at 23762s. Now, if you get the deeper pullback, where you're testing the 23238s, now you could break it, sweep it into this demand. Okay? It's called the 232 demand, 23200. If you go back inside that overnight range, pull back, you get long. You also target yesterday's highs, 23538, and try to go for that gap fill. Okay? Now again, sneaky long again. Has to happen quick. If we push down violently, you have a bullish fair value gap. Yesterday's close at 23094s. This has to be quick. Higher low, you go long, and you target yesterday's highs, 23538. Okay? Now, we're going to go with the shorts. Okay? Now, this has been the easier trade of recent. Pops are being sold. Especially oil today is not up like it was yesterday. It's flat. So, gotta watch oil. Gotta watch crude. Okay? So, in a short scenario, I just want to see that NASDAQ pushes up into yesterday's highs, about 23538, sweeps it, comes back into yesterday's range, puts a lower high in, and if the tech is weak again, you're probably going to want to go short. Target 23350 is the most traded price of the week. 23238, that's support in the overnights. And then go all the way back to see if you could take out the overnight lows, the 22960s. Okay? So, that's right now the only thing I'm interested in. Okay? Because in here, if we start hanging around the 23350s, you might get chopped up in this area. You don't want to hang around. If prices are hanging around there, do not trade in there. You will get chopped to pieces. You want to be away from that area. Now, if it rips and you get an opportunity, feel free to do something. But if it's kind of hanging around, yeah, wait for some type of sweep, some type of manipulation to do something. Okay? That's it, folks. That's it. Okay? Smash that like button if you enjoyed that analysis. That would help me out tremendously. And hopefully you can join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. Do this every day. Give you the market story, the market news, economic calendar, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I give you the long and short trade scenarios every day. Just gave them to you. We have a plan. I like the plan. I like it better than the ES, but I like the plan. Okay, remember today, of course, we have data coming out. Chicago PMI, consumer confidence. I'm sorry, Chicago PMI at 9:45. Jolts Jobs and consumer confidence at 10 a.m. That sucks because probably one of my setups will set up in those times, and I just don't want to take the risk of having my stop be run. Who knows? And who knows if Trump's going to be talking? Just pay attention to news. We have a lot of headline risk. You have to make sure you have some type of squawk box in your ear. Otherwise, you're at a disadvantage. Okay? Usually when Trump starts talking, I don't want to go into a trade. It's just it doesn't make sense. Okay? Doesn't make sense. Unfortunately, sometimes when I'm in a trade, I might go to break even, or I might like if I'm up, then I'll just put break even and go, all right, maybe he'll help me. But most times I don't like being in a trade when somebody's talking that can move the market. Okay? So now, if you want more in-depth coverage, I'll be live today. Please come join my Discord, Kamoon's Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay? I won't steer you wrong. I won't steer you wrong. Okay? Come join me. Now, if you don't join me, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Everybody have a great day.